Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and being a producer of Wrestle Massacre as well as Inside Movies Galore, I am David Streggy, and welcome to Delusions of Grandeur. Enjoy the reviews. I certainly did.
Okay, Dave, that's it. Screw you and your college flunkies. I've had enough of this from you and from everyone else. I know what you guys are trying to do. Break me down, drive me out of the force. Well, it's going to take a hell of a lot more than a lame prank like this to get Curtis Mooney to throw in his badge, so fuck you. Over.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Delusions of Grandeur. I'm your host, David Streggy, and here I have a continuation of my recent box that came about, and I think I'll add some films that I have not gone on about as well. Here I have My Little Sister from Wildeye releasing, and it is directed by Maurizio Del Piccolo and Roberto Del Piccolo. It stars Lucia Castellano, Alberto Corba, Astrid Debon, Holly Dillon, Orfeo, Orlando, and Antonio Pauletta, and David White. And it says, Evil wears many faces. A group of friends go against all warnings not to camp in the local woods, where a legendary monster named Little Sister is rumored to exist. As they defy any advice, one by one, they soon fall victim to the urban legend come to life and his bizarre family of the deranged. So here we have My Little Sister. Kind of a cool cover there. Next, I have Dark Sister, also with Wildeye releasing, and it's directed by Sam Barrett, and it stars Amanda Woodhams, Nicola Bartlett, Liam Graham, Austin Castiglione. Art is a nightmare. Troubled artist Cassie suffers with reoccurring visions of murder, which she copes with by committing the violent acts to canvas. But when her visions begin to manifest in real life, her friends and family begin to turn up dead. Realizing her visions actually provide a direct link to the killer, Cassie must now confront her own past in order to stop the murders and save herself. So, Dark Sister. It says, a creepy doll, genetics, and evil all wrapped up in a Neo Gaiolo package that makes for a very surreal watch indeed. From horror cult films. The visuals are brilliantly done, bathed in colors of green and red, adding a trippy psychedelic feel to the action. And that's from UK Horror Scene. So, there we go, Dark Sister. Kind of a simple cover, if you ask me. So this is actually one of the next films that is on the Wildeye Raw and Extreme collection called Alabama Sasquatch. Kind of a cool cover. And it's directed by Tommy Slama, And it says, those looking for a cheap good time should put your mom down and grab this flick. I highly recommend this one. By Horror Society. And I wonder what that mom reference means. Get skunked, get high, get dead. When Nazis, Sasquatch, Bigfoot, and a family of psychotic cannibal hillbillies threaten to ruin a redneck family reunion, all hell breaks loose in Grass County. Get ready for a sick, twisted, politically incorrect, drug-fueled, and just plain tasteless good old time. So, definitely looks awesome. I think that'll be a top on my list to watch eventually. So here we have Grimwave. This is directed by Jason Mathern. And it's Grime doesn't pay. No sex is safe sex. When the legendary unstoppable serial killer CFK stumbles upon a drug deal, he accidentally enters the dark and violent world of New Orleans crime. Two rival gangs stop their ongoing war in order to recruit assassins, dirty cops, and mystical ninjas in an attempt to destroy CFK before he kills everyone in sight. An insane, nasty, gnarly, and disgusting combination of Friday the 13th and Salo 120 Days of Sodom. Starring Anthony Carreras, Jason Beckhouse, Bill Heinz, and Steve Waltz. There we go with Grime Wave. So here I have Countyside. Welcome to the great outdoors. With Robin Hodge, Joel Elliott, Peter Whittaker. This wilderness belongs to the beasts of prey. While on a cross-country road trip to a wedding, a young couple is forced to camp out for the night in the forest. But they soon become prey to the beasts who roam the land, and something even more sinister. Abby, now separated from her boyfriend, is caught in a battle for life and death against the unforgiving forces of nature and the psychotic desires of the human predators who call this wilderness home. Directed by Brett Kelly. Here I have Voodoo. You Are Going to Hell. It is unrated, and it stars Samantha Stewart, Ruth Reynolds, and Dominic Matucci. Nothing has prepared you for this. When Dani, an innocent southern girl, vacations to Los Angeles to evade her increasingly complicated life, she learns that escaping her past and evil is never as easy as it seems. A harrowing journey into the literal pits of damnation, as Dani is subject to inhuman tortures, both emotional and physical, by a host of demons. How she emerges from the other side of hell will shock even the bravest of viewers. So this film is directed by Tom Costabile, whichever you want to say. And it's called Voodoo. So here we have the Ouija Procession. And it is directed by Louis Carvalho. When you break the rules, the game plays you. After playing with a vintage spirit board in their parents' basement, a group of teens conjure an undead relative who rises from his tomb and traps and stalks them from beyond the grave to exact revenge on his own murder at the hands of his family. Starring James Barrett, Ryan Bodrow, Nicole LaSala, Jocelyn Padilla, Aaron Peasley, Cesar Pereira, and Rob Roy. with the Ouija possession. Looks interesting. The Cropsey incident. The urban legend is real. You're all going to die tonight. And this is directed by Julian Grant, starring Rinska Carrasco-Prestoneri, Terry Bell, Brandon Galetz, Hannah Phelps, Louis Lawless, and Nathaniel Card. A group of online social justice activists venture deep into the woods to uncover the truth behind a recent series of gruesome ritual murders and to capture the person responsible. But what they come face to face with is something more deadly than any serial killer. A supernatural urban legend that is very much real. And determined to make them the latest victims in a decades-old reign of terror. Kind of a cool cover. So, though I already have Bone Hill Road, directed by Chad Sheets, I did not have the Wildeye releasing copy. And this is the unrated director's cut of Bone Hill Road. And stranded but not alone, Emily and Eden Stevens escape a violent domestic abuse situation only to enter into another dangerous one. Terrified and alone, they are stranded in the woods, hunted by a werewolf. When they find shelter in a nearby home, things only get worse when they stumble upon a psychotic killer and his hostages. They must all work together to get out alive as a family of werewolves and the deranged serial killer close in for the kill. The film stars Ellie DeGear, Anna Ramas Plumberg, Linnea Quigley, Millie Milan, Dylan Fawn, Harvey Douglas Epps, and Gary Warner Kent. So there we have it, Bone Hill Road. Next we have Animalistic, and it says vengeance is hers. For Emma, escape is the only option. In this chilling revenge thriller, Emma, an oil company executive, travels from Australia to the USA to close a politically controversial deal. On her way to speak at a press conference, she hails a taxicab, but is drugged and abducted by the driver. She awakens bound in an isolated, filthy cabin and the mercy of a trio of psychopaths who she will have to turn the tables on in order to escape in one piece. So this film is directed by Sonny Laguna and Tommy Wickland, and it stars Hannah Oldenburg, Ralph Beck, Torbjorn Anderson, Nikki Nordenskjöld, Cheryl Murphy, Johanna Wagrell, Anders Minzinski, Lena Hill. And there we have Animalistic. Looking forward to this. Evidently, Terror Weekend says, it walks between the waters of I Spit on Your grave and the house on the left. So. And the last movie in the box that came from Brad is called Dead Woman's Hollow. And it's directed by Libby McDermott. And it says, all blood runs to the hollow. Based on a shocking true crime that took place in the Appalachian Trail, two female students set off for a camping trip into the Pennsylvania woods, but they are hunted, shot, and left for dead by a mountain man after he discovers they are lesbians. A local sheriff soon begins to piece together more unsolved disappearances and murders on the trail, but can he act in time to stop more killings? So this film stars Charles Dawson, Mel Heflin, and Sarah Snyder. Now, Mel Heflin um, stars in the new film that I produced called Bride of the Werewolf. So it should be interesting when I check this out. This must be when she was a little bit younger, maybe. I don't know, but I'm definitely curious about this. It definitely looks cool. And I love things based on true events, and this has 3 laurels on it. It says official selection, Bizarre AC Film Festival, official selection of the Sci-Fi Valley Con, and official selection of the Days of the Dead Film Festival. So, alrighty. So I have two different copies. Well, not two different films that have the same name, but they are 2 different stories. So the first I have is stars Sid Caesar, Clive Revel, and Robert Morris in The Emperor's New Clothes. Now this was put out by MGM Home Entertainment. It was filmed in 1987. It was part of the Cannon Group collection. It was directed by David Irving, and clothes make the emperor, or so he thought. Hans Christian Andersen's classic fairy tale gets a lavish makeover in this whimsical live-action comedy starring showbiz legend Sid Caesar from Greece, who plays the eccentric emperor with his trademark foreign language gibberish and nervous delivery. And that was said by Variety. Full of mischief, merriment, and mayhem, this delightful twist on a beloved story weaves a hilarious family adventure you won't soon forget. The Emperor's blinding vanity makes him an easy mark for con artists, especially the 2 phony tailors, hired to make him a dazzling outfit for his daughter Gilda's. Played by Lynette Anthony Wedding. While the elder crook, Robert Morris, schemes to steal the royal jewels, his nephew, Jason Carter, is busy stealing Gilda's heart. In the midst of it all, it takes a child to reveal the truth that no one else can see. There we have it, The Emperor's Clothes. Emperor's New Clothes, actually. And here is the other film with the same title. This one is directed by Alan Taylor, and it was filmed in 2002. It was from Paramount Pictures, Paramount Classics Film 4, and Red Wave Productions. So Napoleon Bonaparte defeated powerless and exiled to the island of St. Helena to live out the rest of his life in this lonely, fated isolation. Or was he? This whimsical, captivating romantic comedy presents a decidedly different version of the events that shaped the course of history. Determined to retake the crown, Napoleon swaps places with Eugene Lenormand, a lookalike commoner. But Napoleon's journey back to Paris takes more twists and turns than ever imagined. Meanwhile, Lenormand finds his glamorous new role much too rewarding to ever admit the deception. So while France's famed leader struggles to adapt to the simple life of a commoner, the once lowly Lenormand takes his newfound stardom to laugh-provoking new heights. Acclaimed actor Ian Holm from The Lord of the Rings and Chariots of Fire gives a bravura dual performance as both Napoleon and Lenormand in this delightful comedy of swapped roles and mistaken identities. So that was an interesting film. Here's a vampire film from 1970, filmed in 1971, 1972. It is also from Paramount Pictures. It is a Charles R. Moss Jr. B. Moss Jr. production. It was directed by John Hancock, and it's called Let's Scare Jessica to Death. Something is after Jessica, something very cold, very wet, and very dead. Finally released from an institution after suffering a nervous breakdown, Jessica, played by Zora Lampert from Opening Night and Stanley and Iris, seeks the tranquility of a secluded home in Connecticut to help make her recovery complete. But instead of a restful recuperation with her husband Duncan, played by Barton Heyman, and a close friend played by Kevin O'Connor, in the New England countryside, Jessica soon finds herself falling into a swirling vortex of madness and the supernatural. And an even more unsettling discovery is that the entire region seems to be under the influence of a mysterious woman the trio finds living in the supposed empty house. Jessica's fear and dread only intensify when she discovers that the undead girl, Emily, tragically drowned long ago on her wedding day. Is she back to take her vengeance and scare Jessica to death? So, there we go. So, here I have a Shriek Show edition of Lucio Fulci's Lizard in a Woman's Skin. And it is a Giallo. Carol, played by Florinda Bolkin, is a respected politician's daughter who experiences a series of vivid psychedelic nightmares drenched in depraved sex orgies and LSD. Within the confines of her delirious dream state, Carol commits a sickeningly graphic murder and awakens to a real-life criminal investigation into the murder of her neighbor, and all the clues point to her. Did she really do it, or is she being framed? Where do her dark dreams end and repulsive reality begin? So, kind of an interesting cover, hey? And I believe this is the 2-disc version. So, I am certainly glad that I have a copy of this film in some way, shape, or form. I know this was out of print, and I think I bought it from someone in one of the groups, Lizard in a Woman's Skin. So I'm not sure if I actually went on about this film in any capacity, and it's directed by Malcolm Mowbray. And it stars John Lithgow, Terry Garr, and Randy Quaid. And not every criminal is a mastermind. Terrific comic performances by all 3 stars, John Lithgow, Terry Garr, and Randy Quaid, to highlight this devious black comedy about a scorned wife's attempt to get away with murder. Very funny and deliciously underplayed. Out Cold, which is the name of the film, will leave you laughing out loud for days. Unlucky in love, unluckier in murder. Sonny Canald Gar is a dissatisfied wife who schemes to get rid of her cheating husband one way or the other. First she hires a PI, Quaid, to dig up the dirt on him. Then she discovers a way to put him on ice and frame an innocent man, Lithgow, for the crime. Can she pull it off? Undoubtedly she might, if not for the determined PI, who won't stop snooping. So there we have it, Out Cold. This is actually one of my favorite French films, because it's an erotic film, but it also has some great sets. And it is directed by Gene Rollins, and it's called Lips of Blood, and it was very out of print, So it took me some time to actually find a copy for pretty low price. So Lips of Blood is a true jewel in director Gene Roland's vampiric crown, laden to overflowing with images of languid depravity and gothic beauty. It is an almost fairy tale like take on the vampire theme and a classic combination of art house and horror cinema. The film centers on a young man who is tormented by visions of memories of an old castle and a ghostly woman with whom he becomes obsessed. This ethereal woman eventually leads him to a cemetery where he is encouraged to open a number of coffins, which releases a horde of female vampires into the city of Paris. Released here in a brand new anamorphic version with a master created directly from the original negative and with an audio commentary by Roland himself, we believe this to be the best version of Lips of Blood, also known as Le Vers de Sang, ever released. The film stars Jean-Louis Philippe, Anne Briand, Nathalie Perry, and Willy Brack. The film was filmed in 1975, and it's called Lips of Blood. So here I have Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. It was a TriStar picture, and it was directed by Kenneth Branagh. The film stars Tom Hulse, Helena Bonham Carter, Aidan Quinn, Ian Holm, John Cleese. Robert De Niro as well starred in this film as Frankenstein's monster. So this was an acclaimed adaptation of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. True to the original, here is the story of a young doctor whose obsession with death leads him to create a life. But his creature, crafted from the bodies of the convicts and the brain of a brilliant scientist, is a hideous mockery of humanity. And when the creature realizes he will never be accepted by men, he seeks revenge on Dr. Frankenstein and his family. An inspired adaptation, that's emotionally complex and truly terrifying. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein is 100% pure excitement, visually stunning, and refreshingly different, said by Paul Wonder from WBA1 Radio. So there we have Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Be warned, it's alive. So I guess this is a film that has a very young Richard Gere in it. And on the front of it, it says Gangland War on the Streets of New York City. Film is called Strike Force. It says Family DVD Store on the front. And apparently Cliff Gorman, Donald Blakely, and it was directed by Barry Shear. Richard Gere from Pretty Woman delivers a great performance as an undercover cop on the mean streets of New York. A teenager witnesses a murder committed by the mafia. He becomes the next victim on the hit list. Richard Gere jumps into action as he leads the strike force into battle against the drug warlords. He aims to put the villains behind bars. A suspenseful thriller roller coaster ride. So there we have Strike Force. Should be entertaining. Next I have Night Terrors, which I do believe that I did pick up from Brad sometime before. This is directed by Jason Zink, and it's from produced by or put out by Camp Motion Pictures and works with Weird on Top Pictures. Three gore-filled tales of shock and terror. A resentful older sister fills her brother's head with bizarre tales of terror, blood-soaked memories, and nightmares of perversion after learning that she must babysit and miss a party. In Massacre on 34th Street, a deranged killer dressed as Santa Claus slaughters a house full of squatter punks who don't appreciate the holiday. In Baby Killer, a distraught professor performs illegal experiments on victims in an attempt to save his dying daughter. In Abstinence, a horrifying flesh-eating STD quickly spreads through a college campus. Throwback to the VHS age of horror anthologies, said by thewickedchannel.com. So, there we have Night Terrors. And it says on here, the return of VHS horror. Next, I have Noise. This is written and directed by Henry Bean. And Peter Hoffman seems to be a producer behind it. Working with Spen Arts and Fuller Films. It's got Tim Robbins, Bridge Moynihan, and William Hurt playing in Noise. Academy Award winner Tim Robbins stars as David Owen, a Manhattan husband and father, so unhinged by the noise outside his window that he declares a one-man war on car alarms. But when David goes over the edge and becomes a citywide noise vigilante known as the Rectifier, he incurs the wrath of New York's sleazy, blowhard mayor, a hilarious performance by Oscar winner William Hurt, who vows to stop him. But how much change will one guy inflict for a little peace and quiet? Bridget Moynihan and William Baldwin, Dirty Sexy Money, co-star in this wickedly funny black comedy from award-winning director Henry Bean, director of The Believer, that the New Yorker hails as a splendidly eccentric film alive with creative madness of New York City. So, there we have it. Noise. Next, I have the original Flatliners. Says some lines shouldn't be crossed. Starring Kiefer Sutherland, Julia Roberts, and Kevin Bacon. An interesting trio. Are you afraid to die? Kiefer Sutherland isn't. He's an ambitious, charismatic medical student who persuades classmates Julia Roberts and Kevin Bacon to take part in a reckless experiment to see if there is life after death. They will kill themselves, temporarily shut down, flatline their heart and brain functions to briefly experience clinical death. The film is directed by Joel Schumacher, with Stonebridge Entertainment and Columbia Pictures that had distributed it. So, yeah. Next, I have Isaac Asimov's Nightfall, which I believe was a small miniseries. It stars Jennifer Burns, David Carradine, and Joseph Hodge. And it was directed by Gwyneth Gibby. The people of the planet Aeon, blessed with 6 sons, have never experienced night. When an archaeological excavation uncovers evidence of an ancient catastrophe, all signs point directly to the impending darkness of the very first nightfall. Panic erupts as the suns slowly disappear one by one. Science struggles against superstition as the people race to comprehend the approaching nightfall, the end of the world as they know it. Based on Isaac Asimov's classic story Nightfall, voted the greatest science fiction story of all time. And it is 85 minutes. So, I have not watched that, and I would like to. So this is like the 4th film in this franchise. And this stars Billy Zane and Chad Michael Collins, and it's called Sniper Reloaded. Now, it's directed by Claudio Fair, with Stage 6 Films and Film Africa and Apollo Movie co-production. evidently put out by Sony Pictures. And what's interesting about this one is that, okay, while working with the UN forces in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Marine Sergeant Brendan Beckett, played by Chad Michael Collins, son of renowned sniper Thomas Beckett, receives orders to rescue a European farmer trapped in the middle of hostile rebel territory. When he and his men arrive at the farm, a mysterious sniper ambushes them, wounding Beckett and killing everyone else. With the help of his father's former protege sniper instructor, Richard Miller, played by Billy Zane, Beckett must learn to think like a sniper to track down the assassin before the sniper returns to finish the job. So, there we have it, Sniper Reloaded. I have not watched that as of yet. May he rest in peace. This, if not for Stan Lee, Lightspeed would not have come into existence. This has Jason Connery, Nicole Eggert, Daniel Goddard, and Lee Majors in Stan Lee's Lightspeed. But this was actually directed by Don E. Fauntleroy, and this was with Sci-Fi Pictures. And it was distributed by RLJ Entertainment. The covert world of the government Ghost Squad agent Daniel Layett, Jason Connery of The Secret Life of Ian Fleming and Smallville, comes crashing down when he is critically injured in a building collapse triggered by the genetically mutated terrorist called Python. Played by Daniel Goddard, a Beastmaster, but when Late's radiation treatments are sabotaged, he discovers that he has the ability to move at hyperspeeds, only by risking potentially fatal metabolic damage. What happens when an inexperienced superhero buys his suit from a stoner store clerk? Why is his former scientist friend turned snakeskin psycho plotting the horrific Operation Fire Sky? And will the fastest man on the planet allow millions to die, including himself, to save the woman he loves? Lee Majors, the $6 Million Man, and Baywatch babe Nicole Eggert co-star in this action-packed thriller from executive producer and comic book legend Stan Lee when he was still alive. I still have to check that out. Sanatorium. This is from the After Dark original collection. This film is directed by Brent Saracen. On New Year's Eve in 1955, Richard Howell, a patient at the Hillcrest Sanatorium, went on a bloody rampage, killing 3 children before he hanged himself. 56 years later, the ghost hunters from the popular series Ghost Trackers prepare to spend the night at the sanatorium. They hope to capture paranormal activity for the entertainment of their show's fans. Instead, they unleash a horrifying force of evil hell-bent on their destruction. From After Dark Films, with Goldmine Pictures, starring Kate Wood Riley, Ben Rogers, Don Finelli, Justin Purnell, Megan Nuringer. There we have Sanatorium. Sanatorium. Oh, sorry, wrong thing. So here we have The Glass House, which is directed by Daniel Sackheim, with Columbia Pictures, and from the producer of The Fast and the Furious and I Know What You Did Last Summer, comes this scare-a-minute psychological chiller starring Lily Sobieski from Eyes Wide Shut and Never Been Kissed, Diane Lane, The Perfect Storm, and Stellan Skarsgård from Good Will Hunting, and Trevor Morgan from Jurassic Park 3 and The Patriot. When Ruby, played by Sobieski, and Rhett's, Morgan, parents are killed in a car accident, their carefree teenage lives are suddenly shattered. Moving to an incredible house in Malibu with the Glasses, old friends of the family, seems to be the beginning of a new life for them, but Ruby soon stumbles upon information that leads her to suspect that her new legal guardians might somehow be responsible for her parents' deaths. Now she finds herself all alone in a duel of wits with the ruthless and terrifying couple, and she's the only thing standing between them and her $4 million inheritance. Prepare yourself for a wild and intense ride in this mesmerizing chiller. And there we have The Glass House. So here we have The Good German. And it stars George Clooney, Kate Blanchett, and Tobey Maguire. Who knows what American journalist Jake Geismeyer, played by George Clooney, expected to find in post-war Berlin? Peace, maybe. Or at least a story, but certainly not Lena. Kate Blanchett, the beautiful, embittered one-time love, and not the trial of secrecy and deception that leads from Lena to the scheming young corporal. Tobey Maguire, who's her new lover, and to a murder who no one seems interested in solving except Jake. Steven Soderbergh directs. 3 of today's top talents in this zigzag thriller that's both an atmospheric homage to 1940s filmmaking and a deft modern film noir. The Good German is haunting and hypnotic. It's pure movie-going bliss. And it was in association with Virtual Studios, a Section 8 production, and Warner Brothers was the distributor behind this. So, yeah, there we have The Good German. So next I have The Graduate, and I believe that this is the 2-disc edition of The Graduate. And it stars Anne Bancroft, Dustin Hoffman, a very young Dustin Hoffman, and Catherine Ross. So, the film was directed by Mike Nichols. Nominated for 7 Academy Awards and winner of directing, this wildly hilarious landmark film stars 2-time Oscar winner Dustin Hoffman and Anne Bancroft, and features a haunting score sung by Simon and Garfunkel. Uncertain of what he wants to do with his life, college graduate Benjamin Braddock, played by Hoffman, returns home, and when the wife of his father's business partner, the sexy Mrs. Robinson, played by Bancroft, seduces him, the affair only deepens his confusion. That is, until he meets the girl of his dreams, played by Catherine Ross. But there's one problem. She's Mrs. Robinson's daughter. And there we have The Graduate. Next, I have The Devil Inside, which it was inspired by true events, and it says this is the film the Vatican doesn't want you to see. So this film is directed by William Brent Bell. It was put out by Paramount with Insurge Pictures, and it's a prototype production. In 1989, emergency responders received a 911 call from Maria Rossi confessing to 3 brutal murders. The courts found her insane, but something else found her first. 20 years later, her daughter Isabella's search for answers leads her to an exorcism by 2 rogue priests, revealing that her mother is possessed by 4 powerful demons. Now Isabella must face pure evil or forsake her soul. Discover the devil inside is the movie critics call riveting and terrifying. So there we have The Devil Inside. Next, we have a movie that wasn't too bad. I don't think. I just didn't expect Jeff Bridges to do the performance of a guy involved in here. So we have Jeff Bridges, Meryl Streep, Brenton Thwaites, Alexander Skarsgård, Odeya Rush, Katie Holmes, and Taylor Swift in a movie that was adapted into that was a book, but adapted into a movie called The Giver. And it was directed by Philip Noyce. It was put out by the Weinstein Company and Walden Media with Tonic and As Is Productions and Yucca Films. The story of The Giver centers on Jonas, played by Brenton Thwaites, a young man who lives in a seemingly ideal, if colorless, world of conformity and contentment. Yet, as he begins to spend time with the Giver, played by Jeff Bridges, who is the sole keeper of all the community's memories, Jonas begins to discover the dark and deadly truths of his community's secret past. With this newfound power of knowledge, he realizes that the stakes are higher than imagined, a matter of life and death for himself and those he loves most. All at extreme odds, Jonas knows that he must escape their world to protect them all. A challenge that no one has ever succeeded at before. The Giver, directed by Philip Noyce, and screenplay by Michael Mitnick and Robert B. Wide, is based on Lois Lowry's beloved young adult novel of the same name, which was the winner of the 1994 Newbery Medal and has sold over 12 million copies worldwide. I actually liked it, even though I think it was kind of a weird cast. But I still have to watch it again just to get my take on it or whatnot. But I was impressed with it at the time. So, in any case, I think that's all I have for today, folks. But stay tuned for some more exciting things that I have to share from you, with you from my collection. I'm just so glad to be able to share all of these with you. It's been a couple of days. I had to find the energy to do this all. I had some health problems. So, in any case, check out some more cool, exciting videos coming up. And I will probably have another box to start very soon. So thank you so much. Have a great day, evening, or morning, wherever you are. Appreciate your time spent on this page. Adieu.
You were good, kid, real good. But as long as I'm around, you'll always be second best, see?